If you're dieting or trying to lose weight, it could be a very frustrating process. And I think a lot of people struggle with it so much because of their mindset around it. My name is Michelle. I am founder and owner of Nutrish Mish, and we've helped over 10,000 people lose weight, but also keep it off through behavioral and mindset changes around nutrition and weight loss. Our whole thing is we like to make the whole process pleasant. So after working with people for so long who have been chronic dieters, who have been doing this like so much of their life, I find that when people approach weight loss or they approach a diet, what ends up happening is their mindset and the way that they're approaching it is setting them up for failure from the start. So I'm gonna give you 5 mindset shifts today, which will help make this whole process so much more pleasant for you, but will also increase your success of losing weight, keeping it off, but also like enjoying the process. Because if you enjoy it, you're gonna be much more likely to stick to it. So as we were filming, this video is getting a little bit long, so we're actually gonna split this into 2 parts so we could really like dive in. So make sure you check back next week for part 2. So the first thing that I see people think all the time is, oh my gosh, I should be losing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pounds a week. Crazy numbers. You've made all of these changes, right? And your expectation is, well, I should see the scale move right away. And the scale doesn't A, always catch up in real time, and B, it doesn't always reflect these like big numbers. A lot of times when you see people with these big numbers, like if you remember from like Biggest Loser back in the day, or if you see somebody like, you know, make these really big crazy changes, it's very difficult for most people to lose more than 1 to 2 pounds of body fat loss a week, which I know that's like not a cool, sexy number, but if you lose 1 to 2 pounds of fat every single week and you're consistent about it, you'll hit your goal in no time. And that being said, body fat is large. So that's the size of a coffee mug. I actually did a whole video about it. You can check it out after. I'll link it here if you want to learn a little bit more about weight loss and how it actually works. But in the meantime, you want to expect about 1 to 2 pounds a week. Now, that being said, if you're weighing yourself every day, you're also going to have a really difficult time because you're going to see water fluctuations day to day. It does take about 6 to 8 days to lose body fat, right? So you might be getting on the scale and being like, oh my gosh, I'm not seeing the number that I want to see. Oh my gosh, I've only lost a pound. Like, I can't tell you how many people have said that to me. It's like my pet peeve because a pound is big. It's about the size of a coffee mug. It's very large. If I lost a coffee mug size thing off of me each week, I'd be thrilled about that. But again, we're kind of trained to see these like big numbers because a lot of diets, they're designed for you to see big numbers, but it's not body fat, it's muscle and water. So you might be thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm getting on the scale. It's not moving as fast as I want it to move. I ate great today. Why is it not down, you know? Or you might be like, oh my gosh, I lost weight, but it was only a pound or 2. So the mindset shift that I want you to have about that is 1 to 2 pounds a week is amazing. That's an indicator that you actually lost body fat. And if you're consistent with it, that's amazing. I much rather see somebody lose 1 to 2 pounds of fat every single week than what happens to so many people is they lose 5 pounds, which again, it's not even actually like body fat, it's a mixture of water and muscle. They lose 5 pounds because they made all these crazy changes and then in 2 weeks they gained it right back. So instead of making your goal to like lose 5 pounds a week or to see these crazy numbers, make your goal consistency. If your goal is consistency, you're gonna be seeing that pretty much every week. You're never gonna be disappointed in what you're seeing. And if you don't, all that means is you just have to make an adjustment from where you're at right now. It just means that your body's used to what you're doing and it's time to amp it up. Plateaus don't mean that you can't lose any more weight. It just means that your body's used to what you're doing. And the weight is just letting you know that it's time to get to the next level. It doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean that it's not working anymore. It just means it's time to get to the next level. The second mindset shift I want you to have, when people are starting a diet or they're starting to lose weight, they think they need to eat perfectly, right? They think that they can no longer eat all the foods that they like to eat, and when they did, they screwed up. The second mindset shift you want to have is improve, don't perfect. Your body is used to exactly the way you're eating right now. So in order for you to see results, it just has to be slightly better than that. I say this to all my clients. I've said it in past videos. If I have a guy that comes in to see me and he's eating 15 cheeseburgers a week and now he's eating 10, he's still going to lose weight that week, right? But if I tell him like, hey, stop eating cheeseburgers, they're bad for you, it's not necessarily wrong, but he's probably going to be binging by Thursday, right? There's a reason that in school you do freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year. You don't just jump to senior year. When we try to make changes to our eating habits, that's what we try to do, and that's why it feels so difficult for people. The other issue with thinking that it has to be perfect is the second that you don't eat perfectly, you're like, oh my gosh, I screwed up, and then you stop, right? And that gets people into like an all or nothing thing. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I have to eat perfectly in order to lose weight, the mindset shift I want you to have is I just need to eat slightly better than my body is used to now. Now, let's say you're eating a little bit better than your body's used to now, but you're still not seeing the result. Don't panic. That's when it might be time to call on a professional like us at Nutrish Mish, which I will put a link below where you can get a session started for you, because sometimes what I find is people aren't making the right changes. I had a client come in the other day and she was like, oh my gosh, like my friend lost all this weight. She stopped drinking soda. She stopped eating fast food. She's like, I don't drink soda. I don't eat fast food. And I was like, and that's amazing. But you know, for you, there's no change to be had there. So we have to find other changes. So if you feel like, oh my gosh, I am eating better than I was, but I'm not seeing the results, take advantage of that session and we can get you started and help create a roadmap for you. The third mindset shift I want you to make, I have a lot of people that come in and they're very, what I call all or nothing, meaning like when you're eating well, you are eating like perfectly, right? But then because of that, when you're off, you are off. To me, that is the hallmark of somebody that's always going to struggle with food, because when you're good, it's so good, but it's not maintainable. And then you feel so restricted that when you stop, now you're eating like crazy. So you go from eating like grilled chicken and salad and egg whites to like cheeseburgers and french fries and all that kind of stuff. So the mindset shift I want you to have is I'm going to stay in the middle lane. I'm going to eat nutritiously most of the time. But that being said, if it's a party, a holiday, a weekend, a special occasion, whatever, I'm going to take my foot off the brake and I'm going to let myself eat how I want to eat. It's funny when you're a nutritionist and people find out you're a nutritionist, everybody loves watching what you eat at social events and parties. And when I was early in my career, I practically made people sign an NDA, like when I was eating in front of them, because I felt like, oh my gosh, I have to eat so perfectly. But then I even felt when I went home, I was like, okay, I want to eat what I want to eat now because I didn't get to before, right? So now what I do, and this is what I teach all my clients to do, is you don't have to eat, like I was saying before, perfectly, but that's what creates that all or nothing thing. So what the middle lane looks like is I eat well most of the time, but then at a party, I eat whatever I want. And now when somebody comes up to me and they're like, you're a nutritionist and you can eat that, I'm like, yeah, jealous. Do you want me to teach you how? So that's how you want to do it. In the spirit of it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't want to be all or nothing with it. The other problem with that is then when you're eating really well and then when you check out, you could do a lot of damage there. And then you feel like, well, I'm not going to eat healthy again until I'm back on track. So then you eat all the things that you don't feel like you're going to get, because then once you're being quote unquote good again, you don't eat that stuff anymore. So all these foods are always available to you. They're always an option for you. So you want to stay in the middle lane. So the mindset shift that you want to have is I'm not all or nothing. I'm right in the middle lane. I never feel the need to go too crazy because I'm never really restricting. Does that make sense?
I did that this weekend.
The all or nothing eating also looks like, well, I'll start on Monday, right? So let's say you like eat really well all week long. Let's say you eat well till like Thursday, right? And then what ends up happening is you're like, oh, well, it's Friday. I'm going to have pizza. I'm going to have whatever. And then you're like, oh, well, it's the weekend. I already quote unquote screwed up. So I might as well like eat whatever I want for the weekend. And then I'll get back on track Monday. So like there are all these other days in the week that you have to learn to eat decently on rather than Monday. So like the all or nothing thing can also be called I'm starting Monday syndrome. So the mindset shift there that you want to have is there are 6 other days in the week that I need to learn how to eat decently on. But if I'm not being so strict the rest of those days, then it won't be a big deal when I need to kind of reel it in on the days that I want to. So I hope you found those 3 mindset shifts really helpful. I want you to work on those for me next week and make sure that you're subscribed so next week when we post part 2, you don't miss it, because these next 2, you're not going to want to miss them.